Senator Ping Lacson mentioned that there are approximately 67 congressmen and more who are involved in projects.
Let us earn the trust of the people by choosing a process whose credibility is beyond question.
Sa PDAF scam, may mga senador na nakulong, may senador na nakonvict, may senador na na-dismiss ng ombudsman, may mga kongresistang nakonvict, at para maipakita sa tao na wala po tayong pinagtatakpang kongresista o senador sa mga pagdinig pong ito.
If they know that they have conflict of interest, at least siguro po, dapat siguro wag na sila mag-participate para sa maging credible naman po itong ating proceedings.
Just a short parliamentary inquiry. I was invited to join this committee hearing. Yesterday, I received a letter, and my participation is on item number 5, particularly number 6, privilege speech number 023, on the call to investigate the anomalous flood control and other public work projects delivered by Representative Isidro Ungap. Just a clarification, Mr. Chair, my privilege speech last August 4 was about automatic appropriations, particularly special accounts in the general fund and the use of income in the general fund. However, if this committee would like to take cognizance of this, I would be willing to present that, but I would request not this committee hearing because take a long time to present. Yung speech ko ba lang doon, privilege speech was 45 minutes. It will take 2 to 3 hours if I'll make a presentation here. However, last August 11, I talked in the plenary on a question of personal and collective privilege. I was not availing of the privilege hour. I was reacting to an editorial of a newspaper entitled Investigating the Shameless. If this is the topic that I was invited, then I would gladly explain this later on the item that I was included in number 6. Although it was just a very short manifestation, it is actually a question of personal and collective privilege. It is the right of every member to react on matters involving the duties, responsibilities, and integrity of the House of Representatives. So I was only reacting to that. If this will be the matter that included, I would be willing to explain this.
I think the specific matter is the privilege speech number 23. So I don't think it's about the remarks that you had made relating to that article, Congressman.
So kung privilege speech, the privilege speech was about automatic appropriation. No? As I have said, if this committee would like to take cognizance of that automatic appropriations issue, which is also important, I would be very much willing to explain and answer all the questions. However, I would request that it be taken not this hearing because it will take a long time for me to present. Perhaps in the next hearing, and we can rank it number 1 or number 2.
Yes, it will not be today, Congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Congressman Jokno, please.
Thank you, Chair. Rule 9, Section 33 of the Rules of the House, as well as Section 9 of the Internal Rules, Committee on Public Accounts, provides that, I quote, a member of a committee shall not participate in committee deliberations or vote on any matter that directly or indirectly affects the member's business, financial, or pecuniary interest. These rules are in line with Section 9 of Republic Act 6713, Code of Conduct of Public Officials, which provide that a public official or employee shall avoid conflicts of interest at all times. These rules are also aligned with Article 6, Section 12 of our Constitution, which requires all members of the House to make a full disclosure of their business and financial interests to avoid conflict of interest. A few weeks ago, Mr. Chair, Senator Panfilo Lacson publicly stated that there were at least 67 members of the House of Representatives during the 19th Congress who were operating construction businesses that backed projects that they themselves had allocated funding for. And I quote, noong 2022, pagsimulan ng new Congress noon, natanong ko ang isang kaibigan kong congressman kasi curious ako bagong bukas ng Kongreso. Ilan ba ako sa bilang mo, ilan ng contractor dyan sa batasan? Sabi niya, huling bilang ko sa ngayon 67. Pero alam ko meron pang iba. So noon, 67 na as of 3 years ago. Siguro ngayon, ang iba, naengganyo, mag-contractor na lang tayo. O kaya, kamag-anak ang mag-handle ng kumpanya ng kanyang construction company para makamenos sila. Given this revelation, Mr. Chair, by Senator Lacson, I believe we need to assure the public that this investigation will not be a whitewash and that no members of the three committees conducting this investigation have a conflict of interest. I therefore move, Mr. Chair, that before we proceed any further in this joint hearing, all the members of the Committees on Public Accounts, Public Works and Highways, and Good Government and Public Accountability make a full disclosure of their financial, business, or pecuniary interest that may be directly or indirectly affected by any investigation into the government's past or present flood control project. So move, Mr.
Mr. Chair. Before we motion, I'm asking motion of the I'm intervention. The point of order raised by Representative. It is very clear in the Constitution, even in the rule, that there has to be disclosure of any possible conflict of any interest in business interest, financial interest of any member of this. But I am more fundamental, if I may, something like it's prejudicial. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, your colleagues. During the plenary session last August 145, which authorized the Committees on Public Accounts, Government and Public Accountability, and Public Works and Highway, conduct a joint inquiry into infrastructure projects, particularly flood control projects, was adopted over this representation. In a viva voce voting, the ayes prevailed. This representation now reiterates for the record, for opposition, plain terms, I object to the House itself investigating very significant and very sensitive. When the House of Representatives investigates anomalies in flood control projects, must ask, is it one? Is it prudent? Is it proper for this chamber to investigate when there are already reports that some members here are involved in this very project? By Representative Bokno, citing Lacson. I have raised this before, and I repeat today. Conflict of interest here is not theoretical. It is not distant. It is real, and it will shape how this inquiry is seen or perceived, especially by the public. Where one is most probably the subject of, or is likely and liable to be a suspect, or has a personal interest of not being punished himself as an outcome of the investigation, not be part of the investigation. The most basic principle that in law school we are asked to memorize the Latin maxim that embodies it. Nemo lex in causa qua. No one, a judge in their case. Let us be honest with ourselves. Imagine a whistleblower sitting here before this committee, holding back the truth as a very politician in the panel. Imagine contractors trimming their testimony, careful not to offend a powerful member whose signature they need for the next project. Imagine colleagues whispering in hallways, cutting deals to shield one another, or stretching the process until the public grows tired and distracted. Hindi po ito haka-haka. Ito ang realidad sa ating lipunan. Conflict of interest happens the moment those who may be implicated are given the power to decide how far or how shallow an investigation should go. Even our Supreme Court has been clear. Lawyers here know the due process of justice requires partiality. Jurisprudence abounds on this legal principle. I do not have to mention those cases, but in one case, Mateo versus Villaluz, number L-1584, promulgated May 30, 1961, the Supreme Court reminded us that due process demands a, quote, hearing before an impartial and disinterested tribunal, end of quote, and the, quote, code neutrality of an impartial judge. Even judges and commissioners are disqualified for far less. How much more when legislators plan to be investigating rebellions in flood control? Kung sa husgado hindi pinapayagan, bakit dito sa papayagan? Some will say, you can always assure fairness, transparency, and just always commit that this body will be impartial. But will the people believe these assurances? And they already know, alam na alam ng taong bayan, that corruption in infrastructure has been rampant and blatant. Every Filipino has heard of ghost projects, of corruptions, kickbacks, of substandard work that crumbles as soon as the ribbon is cut. People have heard about the involvement of elected public officials, including members of Congress, both houses of common knowledge, uncomfortable. On the issue of anomalous flood control projects, some politicians reportedly act as contractors for their own government-funded infra projects or the ghost projects. A clear case of conflict of interest. Now, there are reports that Malacanang is preparing an executive order to create an independent commission to probe alleged flood control anomalies. Whether through such an EO or through a legislation, the point is clear. There are alternative paths that can give this investigation the credibility it needs. What matters is that the process stands above politics and earns the confidence of the people. Mr. Chair, I therefore register my continuing opposition to the holding of this joint hearing under House Resolution number 140. What is at stake here is better than the reputation of any House member. It is the institutional integrity of the House. My colleagues, I say, let us earn the trust of the people by choosing a process whose credibility is beyond question. Investigation rises above politics and truly serves the ends of truth. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chairman, just an interjection from an older member of this House. I respect. Yes, Your Honor. Very important. I respect the opinion, the comments of our two members. But if we go back to the motion or the precedence of motions, the question that was raised or the point that was ordered by the Honorable Jokno is in the form of a point of order. So we did not entertain the motion. It is the chair who will rule that the point of order is in order or well taken or not. So I move that the chair will rule on the point of order.
We can discuss it first before making. Deputy Speaker Garin, please.
Mr. Chairman, with due respect to the Honorable Shell Jokno and of course Secretary Laila de Lima and my very good friend Sid Ungab. Yes, indeed, I saw the news report when Senator Ping Lacson mentioned that there are approximately 67 congressmen and more who are involved in projects. However, Mr. Chair, in the subsequent interviews that he gave, he mentioned that he cannot give names because it was one of the members of Congress who fed this information. I am not objecting to an investigation to uncover the 67 congressmen, if ever they exist. However, Mr. Chair, what I am worried is the fact that the oversight powers of Congress will be clipped in the guise of conflict of interest. Ang sa akin lang po, nirerespeto ko po ang sinasabi ni Congressman Shell Jokno at ni Congresswoman Laila de Lima. Subalit, itong mga nakarang araw, kung titingnan natin ang budget ng Department of Public Works and Highways, nagugulat ako. Kasi tila may pumasok sa NEP na mukhang hindi naman dumaan galing sa baba. There is a big possibility that the needed projects are changed to wanted projects. Ang want ay gusto pero walang benepisyo sa taong bayan. Ang need ay kailangan. And with the current budget deliberations and the oversight powers of Congress, it's time for us to uncover the process and the system. Bakit ba paulit-ulit ito na nangyayari? Let the investigation proceed, let the third-party investigation proceed to uncover the people behind this. But let us not forget that we cannot just sit and be taken out that we are the voice of our people and we need to correct the system. Kasi kung paulit-ulit ito na nangyayari, saan ba nagsisimula ang virus na ito? With that, Mr. Speaker, there was a point of order. I am not sure which section was violated. May I therefore ask for the ruling of the chair?
Mr. Chair, before.
Mr. Chair, Mr.
Deputy
Chair.
Majority.
Actually, as
Not-
I've
It's
understood,
not your turn na, Congressman Reed. Deputy
Chair.
Majority Leader Adyong.
Thank you. Before we act on the motion of Representative, again, I also re-echo the sentiments of my colleagues here, respecting the position of Congresswoman De Lima. and Congressman Shell Tocno. Actually, last week, it was referenced by Congresswoman De Lima that the basis for this TRICOM to convene is the House resolution that we adopted, PS 145. Mr. Chair, let us compartmentalize the issue. Number one, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this committee is not to pass on judgment, culpability of those who are mentioned by whoever, no, by Senator Lacson. The purpose of this TRICOM, Mr. Chair, is to pass legislation, in aid of legislation, see whether there are lapses in the existing policies that we have insofar as the implementation of flood control programs are concerned. We are not here, Mr. Chair, to pass on judgment or to render the culpability of any individuals that may be mentioned or are mentioned, already mentioned, Mr. Chair. And that is in line, Mr. Chair, also with our constitutional mandate, Mr. Chair, given to us that the Congress not only business to legislate laws, but also to exercise its oversight function. If there are concerns, Mr. Chair, that warrants public scrutiny in national interest, Mr. Chair, the Constitution has given us that power and mandate to untangle some of the mysteries. For example, if there are loopholes in the laws, so that we can come up, Mr. Chair, with a responsive legislation in order to correct this. And number two, Mr. Chair, if there are concerns of conflict of interest, which I agree, Mr. Chair, with the Congressman, we have our own internal disciplinary measure, Mr. Chair. If there are congressmen who may be implicated, Mr. Chair, we have our own rules, Mr. Chair, to govern, to discipline our own ranks, Mr. Chair. If there are, for example, issues of conflict of interest or directly involved in these ghost projects and substandard flood controls, let's refer that to the Committee on Ethics. We have our own internal disciplinary measure, but that should not preclude us, Mr. Chair, to exercise our constitutional given mandate, which is exercise our oversight functions and pass legislation that would correct the gaps and the loopholes in our existing laws, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one more comment. In the precedence of motions, the point of order should be taken first. However, I do agree that indeed the gentleman and the lady has a point, and it can be taken immediately after as a question of privilege. In fact, it was already here included in the agenda. My question of privilege during the August 11 session, basahin ko na lang kasi related na rin eh. Binasa ko yung editorial, ang sabi, August 10 pa ito na newspaper, while the public is interested in finding out the extent of the corruption that President Marcos highlighted in his recent State of the Nation address, questions have been raised on the propriety and impartiality of lawmakers conducting an inquiry into anomalies that could implicate members of Congress. And the last sentence says, after his much uploaded job at the shameless, the last thing he should want is to be accused of protecting the shameless sacred cows and of complicity or a cover-up. I will be willing to discuss this when my time comes in item number 6 of item 5. I just, para lang for proper order and decorum, unahin mo na yung point of order, then we can raise a question of privilege since this affect the integrity and I would say the duties of the House of Representatives. I move that the chair first rule on the point of order.
Mr. Chair, before the ruling,
Please proceed.
my understanding is that Representative Jokno is not objecting to this investigation. He's just maybe prudence would require that all members of this committee participating in this proceeding should at least if they know that they have a conflict of interest, at least siguro po dapat siguro wag na sila mag-participate. Para po sa ganon may maging credible naman itong ating. We know for a fact that several representatives are also officers or maybe their relatives, immediate relatives are contractors. Saka siguro po, pwede natin pakiusapan na huwag na sila mag-participate yung mga may interest sa government contracts para sa maging credible naman po itong ating proceedings.
Can we, Congressman Jokno, can we restate the motion that you have been mentioning?
the motion, Mr. Chair, for all the members of the three committees to make a full disclosure of their financial, business, and pecuniary interests that may be directly or indirectly affected by any investigation into the government's past or present flood control project.
This has been seconded.
Second, Mr. Chair. Second here, Mr. Chair. May I explain my my second to the motion of Honorable Jock, no?
Just a short explanation, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As a member of the majority, Chair, in the interest of upholding the integrity of our proceedings, I respectfully seconded the motion of Honorable Shell Jokno that any member who may have a direct or indirect interest in the subject matter should inhibit themselves from participating in this deliberation.
Mr. Chairman,
This is not, excuse me po.
sir, last point lang. I suggest that since we are now entertaining a motion, the Honorable Jokno withdraw his point of order para ma-entertain natin yung motion. Just
Yes,
to interject, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Patuloy po kayo. Pero yung sa akin, suggestion ko, the Honorable Jokno will withdraw his point of order para diretso tayo sa motion. If
May-
mag-agree ang chair.
May I finish my... This is not to cast doubt on anyone's integrity, but rather protect the impartiality of the committee and avoid perception of bias. Our duty is to ensure that the decisions are made solely on the merits of the issues before us, free from any conflict of interest. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman. What is the? Can you restate the point of order, please? I think it has been transformed into a motion.
Mr. Chair, very quick interjection, Mr. Chair. I believe earlier it was a point of order, but later on, the Honorable Shell Jokno amended it as a motion that all those with conflict of interest or possible involvement in this flood control projects inhibit themselves from the investigation. It was duly seconded by the Honorable Laila de Lima and the Honorable Santos. Maybe, Mr. Chair, may we get your ruling on the motion?
A point of clarification, Mr. Chair. The motion pertains to making a full disclosure of such business, financial, or pecuniary interest. It does not yet state about inhibition. If after such disclosures are made, then perhaps we can speak about.
Yes, the motion is relating to the disclosure of members
Yes, Your
on whether or not there exists a conflict of interest. It has been seconded. Are there objections to the motion? There is no objection. So the motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, just a clarification, having ruled on the motion already,
Congressman,
that the full disclosure will be obtained from each and every member. How do we go about it? Should it be a written disclosure? Just to be clear about it, there is a motion, duly approved, carried. Now, how do we implement that?
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn. To proceed, we'll have to get all closure of, and we cannot do
Yeah.
that today.
session suspended. Ito po ang unang pagdinig ng House Infrastructure Committee, ang pinagsamang komite ng House Committees on Public Accounts, Public Works, at Good Government para siyasatin ang mga maanomalyang proyektong pang-infrastruktura sa bansa. Partikular mga flood control projects na inaasahan ng ating mga kababayan sa panahon ng matinding pag-ulan at bagyo. Pagtugon ito sa panawagan ng Pangulo na siyasatin ang lahat ng mga flood control projects ng kanyang SONA, partikular mga proyektong ghost, substandard, at sobra ang presyo. This inquiry is in the exercise of the Congress's oversight power on any and every department or agency of government, most particularly on matters involving corruption allegations of government officials. Like what we had stated earlier, The inquiry will be project-based and evidence-based, with initial focus on the President's site inspections in Bulacan and Benguet, in which ghost and substandard projects had been found. We have copies of all relevant documents to build the cases against officials of the DPWH, 1st District Engineering Office, and the private contractor, Tim's Construction Trading, all of whom were involved in the 55 million Baliwa Ghost project, supposedly the construction of a reinforced concrete river wall, only for the President to discover no project at all. The threshold for plunder is 50 million pesos. This project is 55 million pesos. Plunder charges should be filed against all personalities in the soonest time. We will also take a look at the substandard project of St. Timothy and Wawa Builders in Kalumpit, Bulacan, both of which had been inspected by the President, in which the President had found concrete deterioration with exposed loose cables and wires. The two substandard projects had been built within the last 4 years. The 3 projects had originated in the National Expenditure Program in the previous year. We note with particularity St. Timothy and Wawa Builders, as these are among the top 15 flood control contractors mentioned by the President. We have also taken note of admissions in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, in which Sara Diskaya admitted to continue owning 9 construction firms aside from Alpha Omega General Contractor, and this includes St. Timothy Construction, St. Gerard Construction, St. Matthew General Contractor, Great Pacific Builders, YPR General Contractor, Amethyst Horizon Builders, Waymaker, OPC, and Elite General Contractor. More importantly, we take notice of Ms. Diskaya's admission that their group started engaging in DPWH flood control projects from 2016 onwards. There will also be a focus on undercapitalized firms, which had been able to corner billions of pesos in projects despite limited capital. There will also be a focus on other infrastructure projects, such as the Cabagan Isabela Bridge, rock netting and slope protection projects, all of which had been mentioned and inspected by the President. We will go into each and every anomalous infrastructure project wherever it may be. Ganun pa man, kailangan pong maglinaw, mahalaga ang flood control sa isang bansa na matindi ang epekto ng pagbabago ng klima. Mahalaga ang infrastruktura para sa pagpapaunlad ng ekonomiya at mga komunidad ng bansa. May maayos na flood control at may hindi maayos na flood control. May maayos na infrastruktura, may hindi maayos na infrastruktura. Ipagpapatuloy po natin ang maayos, tatapusin po natin ang hindi maayos. Ang pagsisiyasat na ito ay bahagi ng proseso ng pagpapanagot at paglalatag ng aktwal na reforma sa proseso ng pagsasagawa ng mga proyektong pang-infrastruktura. Layunin nating maglatag ng mga bagong panukala para magkaroon ng perpetual blacklist ang mga hindi maayos ng mga kontratista. Layunin din po nating pasalihin ang pribadong sektor sa mga inspeksyon ng mga proyekto sa lahat ng bahagi ng project implementation para putulin ang linya ng korupsyon sa mga proyekto. Sa mga naunang iskandalo ng korupsyon, mahalagang ipaalalang may aktwal na mga napanagot ng matataas na opisyal at mga kasabwat nila sa pribadong sektor. Sa fertilizer fund scam, may kongresista ang nakonvict noong 2024. Sa PDAF scam, may mga senador na nakulong, may senador na nakonvict, may senador na na-dismiss ng ombudsman, may mga kongresistang nakonvict, at si Janet Lim Napoles ay nakonvict ng plunder at graft. Sa Farmally scandal, nakapila sa kasalukuyan sa Sandigan Bayan ang mga matataas na opisyal ng PSDBM at Farmally. Layunin nating mapanagot sa kasalukuyan ang paglapastangan ng pondo ng bayan sa pamamagitan ng flood control projects at iba pang mga proyektong pang-infrastruktura. Puurin po ang ating suporta sa Independent Commission ng Pangulo. Lahat ng findings ng komiting ito ay agad na ipapasa sa Independent Commission para makatulong sa kanilang mandato. ipapasa din po natin agad sa Independent Commission ang lahat ng mga kaso at proyekto na mapapangalanan in the course of inquiry ang mga mambabatas, kongresista man o senador, para hindi masadlak sa conflict of interest ang Kongreso at para maipakita sa tao na wala po tayong pinagtatakpang kongresista o senador sa mga pagdinig pong ito. Hindi po mahalaga kung saan ipinatupad ang proyekto. Sa Bulacan man yan, sa Benguet man yan, sa Metro Manila man yan, sa Visayas man yan o sa Mindanao man yan, kung ghost, substandard or overpriced ang proyekto, sisiyasatin po ito ng komite. Hindi po mahalaga kung kailan ipinatupad ang proyekto, kung sa kasulukuyan man o sa nagdaang gobyerno man yan. Kung ghost, substandard or overpriced ang proyekto, sisiyasatin po ng komite ito. Hindi rin po mahalaga ang pinanggalingan pondo ng mga proyekto, kung sa NEP man ito o congressional initiative man po ito. Kung ghost, substandard o overpriced ang proyekto, sisiyasatin po ito ng komite. Hindi rin po mahalaga kung sino man ang sangkot sa mga proyekto. Kung mataas na opisyal man ng gobyerno ito, kontratista man ito, kongresista o senador man ito. Kung ghost, substandard, overpriced ang proyekto, sisiyasatin po ito ng komite. Isa po sa mga pinakamahalagang bahagi ng talumpati ng Pangulo ng SONA ay ang pagsasabi na dapat hindi tayo mawalan ng pag-asa dahil ang Pilipino ay likas na matapang, magaling, masipag at mabuti. Sa gitna ng layunin po nating magpanagot ng may sala sa pantarambong ng pondo ng bayan sa infrastructure at flood control projects, layunin din po nating patunayan sa bayan na mas marami pa ring mga opisyal at kawani ng gobyerno na matapang, magaling, masipag, matibay at mabuti. Maraming salamat.